the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Fun begins now in the NFL with the offseason. Got the draft right around the corner as well. T. Higgins tweeted the other day, I'm gonna let you all know first. And also said it's not in my hands. Does it mean he's moving on? Could he stay? One offshore book posted odds on T. Higgins' next team. Broncos are the favorites. It's been widely rumored that he could wind up in New England, who has all that money, but I think that'd be a career mistake. The Patriots are 7-1. The Titans are 9-1. Chargers, Steelers 6. Denver 3-1. Washington 4-1.
I mean, if I'm New England, I'm putting the full court press on him.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Like, yeah, do you want to go there? But May looked pretty good given the situation he's in. You talk about the offensive staff that are putting together. It's not bad. Think you'd be able to thrive there. It's a good staff with a history of maybe getting the most out of guys when you're talking about quarterback play. I don't think it'd be the worst situation in the world if we win New England. I understand maybe not wanting to go and be irrelevant forever. Yeah. But the division doesn't look terrible when you're talking about getting your way out of the cellar. Yeah. Jets are rebuilding. Dolphins are the Dolphins. Maybe they're good for 9 wins next year if everybody stays healthy again. But I think there's worse spots.
Okay. But looking, you get the nice check, but also looking at the other spots, though, much better situations. Sure. But that's so you also have Burrow calling out the organization, and by calling out the organization, he's saying, well, the Eagles pay their guys, right? And then Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, comparing it, this could be Carson Palmer Part 2, where Burrow gets frustrated if he walks, and certainly all the issues they had defensively. But it's picking up here with T. Higgins and his tweets as well, and I would be surprised if he's back with the Bengals. But you also have to pay him, you got to pay Chase, you got to pay Hendrickson, and you already paid Burrow.
Right.
And to do that, and just the big disappointment he had, you couldn't even make the playoffs. And what happened? Now, these are available at DraftKings. The 4 big players. I mentioned this one yesterday. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he calls it quits. Who knows? The Steelers are the favorite. You could have Higgins and Rodgers on the Steelers. Steelers 2-1. Raiders 3. Niners. I can't see that happening. No way. Because they're going to re-sign Purdy. What York said. But then you have the Titans on there and the Vikings. Is there anything you could see there where Rodgers would wind up? I mean, to me, Giants, no way. Browns, no way. The only one I like is the Rams, but Stafford would have to retire.
Well, right. And I would say no way also on the Vikings. I mean, they got the J.J. McCarthy. I think they feel confident that they're going to roll into the season with him there. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere. He's going to be the backup. Look, if you're betting this, I think it's the Raiders or nothing.
Yeah?
Look, we know Mike Tomlin. We saw the report, of course, that the Jets were like, enough with the media stuff, okay?
Sure.
If you want to come back and do this, you think Tomlin's going to put up with him going on the Pat McAfee show, talking about, mitochondria and doing all the nonsense that he does every single time, still going on about the vax every single week, and then having to come and having to deal with those questions every single week? I don't think it makes a ton of sense that would really be fitting, that would fit. Raiders would let him do it, though. And you go in, you get him. The whole situation you hear out of the Raiders is go get the Band-Aid, then go get the young quarterback, Jackson Dart being the guy potentially that's going to be available. Potentially the plan there.
They could get Sanders could fall to him.
They could. He totally could. And there was that, if you remember, like 6 months ago or a little bit less than that, I think it was an Aces playoff game where he was talking with Mark Davis on a sideline, told him something along the lines of, like, bring me home. Like, I think it's a pairing. It could happen. But I think the Raiders do make sense. They're a team that, for whatever reason, wants to continue to spin their wheels and try to get the most out of a pretty bad roster. And you're playing indoors if you're him. And, of course, all the state tax stuff, everything like that.
All right.
Probably dig it.
Sure, not bad. How about Kupp? Rams are going to move him. Last check, Denver was the favorite at 5-1.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah? I mean, how much does he have left, though? That's the question.
And what are you going to give up for him? Obviously, it's like the real question. You're probably not going to give up that much. But I think a team like that, I also don't think a team like the Patriots, like, for example, when Bryce Young really started to make his turnaround, it's when that receiver corps started to get healthy. And you're talking about some of these older, longer in the tooth veteran guys coming back here, including former Vikings receiver whose name is escaping me right now. But like the core getting better and putting a guy like Cooper Kupp next to a young quarterback to give him a little bit more outside of, or maybe even getting both T. Higgins and Kupp, depending on how that works out for you, but really revitalizing what that looks like in terms of your receiver core. I think that makes a ton of sense if you're a team like New England, if the price is cheap.
Washington's on these lists. Does Washington need another weapon? I don't think they do, but I guess that'd be scary, but they're already phenomenal offensively. But
Thielen was the name I was thinking of, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. But, Washington plus 650, third choice on the cup list. And then what I rattled off earlier with T. Higgins on this list. And there's the Steelers again, sitting there, the second choice at 5-1 to get cup. I don't know how much he has left. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Stafford didn't even look at him. It was all Puka and then getting the tight end involved as well. Okay.
Bills make sense.
Yeah. Not bad.
Right.
I could get on board with that. Sure. All right. How about Debo? Again, how about the news over the weekend? You must have been loving life in New Orleans. But you got the Debo news. You got the Rodgers news. It was crazy. So, and the Friday news dump. Debo, still the favorites to stay with the 49ers, but I think he's gone. They're going to shop him. And look at this. Steelers, second choice, and then Denver, and then Carolina. Patriots also on that list.
I'm surprised how far down this list the Chargers are for these guys.
Yes.
Right?
That's a good call.
You watch that.
That's a good spot.
Go back to that Texans game and watch it. That was a receiver core that could not separate at all from any of those DBs that Houston had. Covered them like glue, and then now all of a sudden you're looking at some of these big-name receivers that you could potentially add to this receiving core, and a team that you would think is on the verge of competing in the playoffs.
Yep.
And look at how I talked about this with Matt, and I think this ties into it with the Chargers. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we're looking at a closer to 500 season for Kansas City next year.
You think so?
And if that opens up to that point, then all of a sudden you're looking around and going, why not try to accelerate this thing and give us a piece that can help us win now? And Deebo Samuel being in L.A. could be the point.
Yep.
But look what happened with San Francisco this last year. And part of the logic was, well, there's a lot of deep playoff runs there, 2 Super Bowls in 4 years, multiple NFC championship games. We were seeing the same thing with Kansas City. And part of their longevity here this season was constantly winning these one-score games. Paul, how many times have we seen teams rip through a season with these one-score games and then fall off a cliff the next year because all of a sudden the variance swings hard the other direction? Mm-hmm. Would it really be out of the realm of possibility that Kansas City is closer to 9-8 this year, this coming year? And that division opens up all of a sudden, and you're looking at a team like L.A. that could really accelerate their timeline going to get a guy like Samuel.
They certainly could have been 10-7 this year.
Right.
Everything went. So T. Higgins is 6-1 to go to the Chargers. Debo is 14-1 to go to the Chargers. And then the cup numbers. And here's one more. Garrett is that I want out of here. Where could Garrett wind up? I think the state you want to be in is Colorado, by the way, all these odds at DK. Sure. Washington, Cleveland plus 450, Philly and Detroit plus 550, Bills plus 550. Mitch mentioned he's right. Could he go to Detroit or Buffalo? That would be awesome. Mm-hmm. Then the Packers and Bears at 11 and 12 to 1, New England and Arizona, the long shots at 14 to 1. I would trade him if I'm Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. You got to get these picks back for what you did with Watson. He can't play anyways. And trade Garrett, take a quarterback, and then try to fix this and get back to the playoff team that they were.
Hey, I'm telling you, what do you think of Drake May? Do you think he's going to be good?
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I think there's a lot of overreaction to him.
I think in the right structure, he's going to be good.
Because I still go back to what Mac Jones was and what he turned into, although you could...
I thought he was screwed over, though.
With the coaching staff?
Yes,
I agree
absolutely. His rookie year, he was great. Right, McDaniels helps him out, develops him. They win 10 games. They get to the postseason.
To the playoffs, right?
And then Belichick's arrogance kind of wins over it. He's like, I could do this with the defense coordinator coordinating this offense, right. Joe Judge, Patricia. Everything falls apart. So I think if you're realistically buying in, the reason why I bring this up is if you're New England, can you paint a picture of, and financially, I always trust these teams to make this work, go sign T. Higgins, trade for Myles Garrett. And then all of a sudden you're looking around going, okay, well, if Drake May actually takes some real solid steps forward here, you've got something on your hands if you're the Patriots. We've seen turnarounds. We've seen these turnarounds quickly.
That's right. Well,
we just saw Washington do it.
Is that your team?
The New England Patriots?
You saw Washington, then you saw Houston before.
I think there's a total case to be made for them. Yep. Same thing with Carolina. What if the development's real for Bryce Young?
I'm on that.
People can't. There's so much. I keep getting in arguments with guys like Doug Kazarian. Like, guy's too short. Like, no, the IQ's out of this world. The decision making is great. He got so much more confident as the year went along. And if you're Carolina and you want to revitalize this thing in a division that, by the way, the Bucs deserve all the credit in the world for being as good as they are. Everything else looks wide open in that division. Saints look like they stink. The Falcons, who knows what Michael Penix is going to be next year.
Yep.
Why not try to go and get this done if you're Carolina?
Okay, where are you at with Jacksonville then? Because they fit the criteria as well. The team that wins 4 or 5 games and comes back to the playoffs. You think Cohn's a little weird, but he did a great job as the OC with Tampa. Can you fix Lawrence?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I mean, I'm not rushing to do that as much as I am looking at teams like Carolina or potentially New England. But I think that's definitely something worth looking at. Here's my problem is Trevor Lawrence, I think, has shown some more limitations than his actual reputation is. But the last two coaches that we mocked because of their preseason press conferences, one of them just won a Super Bowl in Sirianni.
Great point.
And the other is Gannon, who looks like he's a really solid coach, who has made Arizona a very formidable team, and at least from a betting standpoint, a very solid team.
I don't care that it was okay, so he had an awkward moment. Okay, right. Great point about Sirianni and how bad that was, and he used it and showed his players how bad his opening press conference was, and what happened with Gannon, too, and some of the hard knock stuff. Right. So, yeah, I think Cohen can be a good coach. 5 minutes in, St. John's and Villanova tied at 13. Good game going on right now, and get the in-play if you're involved as well. And St. John's went off a 2-point favorite in that one. It's the best and biggest NBA card of the season. We'll go back in rotation order. We'll get to the Lakers. Bad spot for the Grizzlies. We'll run this down with picks and props again coming up next. With all 30 teams in action and more trends, we'll repeat what Mackinnon gave out earlier as well. Plenty of NBA, and Matt Youmans up next. At the bottom of the hour as well. VSiN Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Get the VSiN Watch app live from downtown Circle, Las Vegas.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Biggest NBA card of the season. Everyone in action tonight. Great card with big line movement. And let me give you the updated injury information here. Maxey out. Holiday and Brown out. Lillard out. Suggs out. OG and Deuce game time decisions. And we've seen big line movement over these games tonight in the NBA. Houston from 6.5 up to 9. That's no Booker, no Allen. The bug going on in Miami, the flu. OKC taking money. And we've seen a big move on the under in the Orlando game. That moved 5.5 points. That down to 202.5. Golden State from 4 up to 6.5. And Minnesota with the Lillard news and no freak from 5.5 up to 8 with some of the line movement in the association. I'll give out the G-Bank best bet. Again, winner last night with Memphis. I'll go right back against the Suns. So again, without Booker and Allen. Houston, it was 6.5, but up to 9 with the injury news. Back-to-back for the Suns. Again, the locker room, horrible situation. No one wants to be there other than Beal, who loves it with his no
Got
trade
the security.
clause.
He's good. Yep. Doesn't have to move.
Even they tried to heckling him, ripping his kids, everything. Best bets brought to you by G-Bank, official bank of VSiN. Let's take the Rockets at home against the Suns. New customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening receive a $250 bonus, and they're upping the ante with a $750 bonus for the new G-Bank Signature Card customers. In addition, you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the first 30 days of account opening. You get another $500 bonus, so a $750 bonus at G-Bank. Apply now, vsin.com/Gbank. Subject to credit approval, vsin.com/Gbank. You like the Celtics too, though.
Yeah.
Even though with the Brown news.
With the Brown news, and it's just more about being anti-San Antonio. I don't really think the gap between these two teams is this short. San Antonio has been widely overvalued by the betting market. Again, they're 5-12 ATS in the last 17 games coming in here. The 4 games since they've acquired De'Aaron Fox hasn't really gone well. Their defense has been awful. With those two on the floor, with Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox out there. And you can only do so much at the point of attack. I think the argument was throw De'Aaron Fox in there. It's fine because he doesn't do much for you on defense at the point of attack, but you have Victor Wembanyama to clean it up. But you can't just keep giving that up. And you saw it even to one of their best performances, Paul, was the Hawks game that they won. Yep. They were up by almost 20, and they blew that. And they needed to play at the end of that game. Mm-hmm. So I just don't really like this team defensively. I'll take my chances going against them. This
is where Boston has really struggled. And they have some head-scratching losses. Lost to the Bulls at home laying 14. Lost to Philly on Christmas. Lost to Sac laying doubles. Lost to Atlanta and Dallas laying doubles. Only 16-10 at home. And this is weird what the league did to them. They went to New Orleans, struggled, won by 2. Went to Philly, impressive, won. Went to Cleveland on national TV, won that game. Then had to go home for one game. 12-point favorites. Run out. Lost to the Mavs. Then Saturday night, they go in the Garden and destroy them. And then they go to Miami and destroy them. Now they're back at home.
I think they're quietly starting to turn things around. They've won 6 out of 7. They've covered 4 of those games. You mentioned 2. And the Miami game as well. If you were watching it, they get off to a rough start. They only have 18 points in the first quarter. And you're thinking, like, okay, here we go again. Like, what is it with this team? Ran them out of the gym from the second quarter on. Completely handled Miami. I think you're starting to finally see this team maybe start to get it together. By the way, official Anthony Edwards is going to play tonight too. So that was a question, is whether or not he'd be available.
Okay, what do you think of that? T-Wolves 8 against the Bucks.
I mean, Bucks don't really have anybody to defend them. They didn't really have anybody going into it.
You made an interesting point though during the break about how tough this is, because you're heading into the All-Star break and how many guys already have the bags packed.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to gather which team and which guy is going to care. Having said that, Anthony Edwards comes in on 3 straight 40-point performances. He scored 44 last time out against Cleveland. They were awful though in that game. They missed their first 14 shots as a team, something like that. Ended up getting blown out. But he scored 44, 41, and 49 in 3 straight games, and 36-plus in 3 of the 4. He's been on, and they don't have a defender for him. So whether or not you're going to play Minnesota and lay the number, or whether you want to do some Anthony Edwards props and get on the positive side of that, because they don't really have anybody, and volume-wise, it is going to be there for him if he is available. His usage rate in these last few games has been in the 100 percentile. He has been working it. Shot attempts, 25-plus in 3 straight games. I think he's going to have a heavy workload again here. And the 3-point attempts, we've talked about this before, but the over 3-point props for him, how about these attempts? 15, 12, 14, 10. He has been just firing away from beyond the arc. He's hit at least 5 in his last 3 games. So the attempts will be there too, and they don't have anybody to defend him.
Kings are 6 and 240, 238.5 now against the Pelicans.
I will say, I kind of want to bet New Orleans here.
Yeah?
I just don't trust. I use Sacramento. We were sweating them out the other day. It was a desperate comeback down by 10 late in that game against Dallas. And thank God DeMar DeRozan drops 40 and 7 on them and ends up getting a big win. But they're not a good defensive team, and I don't know if I'm in the business of laying 6 on the road with this. You are a small road favorite against Dallas. You needed overtime and a game-winning shot and 40 points from DeMar to dispatch them. Now I got to trust you laying 6 at a game with total of 238.5 because you're so bad on defense. I understand where the Pelicans are at. They're really beat up, pretty bad in terms of the situation for them. Haven't been covering numbers, but I don't know if I trust Sacramento going into this spot.
Could be a track meet. Yep. I gave out the Rockets already from 6.5 up to 9. Lakers up to 9 at Utah. 236.5 the total. 235.5 at Caesars Will Hill. I watched this game Monday, and I like the Luka points prop under 24.5. You want to get nuts. LeBron is plus 650 for a triple-double. Luka's plus 950. With the minutes restriction and the fact that they could blow them out. But that fourth quarter between these teams was nuts. Now, it was a blowout because of the backups win, but they scored 70 points in this one. So I think this could be an insane game again. Yeah. And this could fly over the total.
I wanted to go, so I was going to go back to the well here because on Monday, was that Monday, right, they played?
Yeah.
I had over 110.5 for the team total, right? That's where it was. Now it's 113.5. So, and they barely got there. It was a poor first half. Second half was a lot better. Offensive rating like 118 for Utah. I still think LA is going to be defensively challenged. I think you're going to see some high scores and some high totals for this team in this version with Luka Doncic. I would still lean toward Jazz and team total over, but with the market moving a little bit on me here, I got scared off.
Okay, 22-19 Villanova. St. John's minus 1.5 in play, 153.5 the total. 11 minutes left in the first half. Denver, they just played and blew out Portland. Portland had covered 11 in a row. Now they've lost 2 in a row ATS and straight up. Denver's 10 in this one. Joker plus 125 with a triple-double. And how about the late game? I don't love the spot for Memphis.
No.
You had the big win in Phoenix. Now you got to take on the Clippers.
Who've been off for 3 days.
Yeah. Clippers 4 in this one. And 235 the total. Memphis is crazy with the pace.
I mean, situation screams L.A., right? Yep. You get 3 days, or I think it's even 4, but they've had at least 3 days off, sitting back and getting ready. They've had this bad taste in their mouth. Clippers have not been playing very well over these last few weeks. They come into this thing on I think they're like 3-4 in their last 7 games. Had to snap a 3-game losing streak with a win over Utah. Blew them out last time out. I think rest situation would dictate that you play LA here, and I think they're competent enough to do it. I keep mentioning the Memphis spot where over on Saturday they had 2 days to get ready, 2+ days off. OKC comes in second leg of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights, still blows the doors off of them. But I think the Thunder are insanely competent. Like, I love this team. I think Memphis is good, but I don't think they're that good. And I think LA can still match up with them here. So market, at least, I think makes some sense. They moved in LA's favor. Big situational spot.
Yep.
But total's 235, Paul. You sit back and wait. 4-0,
Yep.
like 6-0 run here for Memphis, start the game. Cheaper number on LA in game. And
I want to take Golden State, but
me too.
I mean, they were down 26 to the Bulls.
Yep.
So, and as bad as Dallas is, with all these guys that are out and how that weird environment is now, that's a lot of points to lay on the road against even though who's going to attack for Golden State, though, even there's no rim protection for Dallas. I think the over is a play.
I just still don't really trust their spacing.
Yeah.
You know, when you have Draymond and Jimmy Butler on the floor together, what's the shooting look like?
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, Kuminga's been hurt, but when they get to the postseason, if he's going to be healthy, then all of a sudden, like, you're talking about a team that's really congested. And I don't know when that manifests, and it could be tonight.
The Mackinnon numbers: New Orleans 11-2 ATS, last 13 against SAC, including 8 in a row. That's one trend that he has. And the other trends go up there, vsin.com, to check them out. The total 8-0-1 overrun with Indiana and Washington. Orlando 7-1 straight up in ATS, last 8 against Charlotte. 8 of the last 10 have gone under between Atlanta and the Knicks. Cleveland, Toronto, the favorite on a 10-1 ATS run, last 11. Philly without Maxey tonight, 10-2 ATS, last 12 against Brooklyn. And the under is 6-2-1 last 9, Detroit, Chicago. They played last night. It was incredible. I had to look at it. Was that real? Yeah, it was real. 71-29 at halftime as well. Where are we at now?
25-22, Villanova's up on top. But how about this? St. John's, one of the worst shooting teams in the country, is 5 of 11 from beyond the arc and trailing by 3.
Oh. I might have to take in play. Yeah,
that's
a good tidbit.
That's insane. For a team that shoots as bad as they are, hitting 5 of 11 3-point shots.
Yeah. Not bad. I'll keep you up to date on that one. College hoops picks coming up next with Youmans. If he hedged back on his Super Bowl bet, as he had the Eagles at 16-1. We'll talk to Youmans coming up next, and also in pocket as well. Coming up on VSiN, Follow the Money. 27-22 Villanova, minus 1.5 in play, 153.5 the total at Will Hill and Caesars. Live from Circa, Sirius XM Channel 158. Youmans next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Little golf, college hoops coming up with Matt Youmans. Joins us now on the Progressive guest line. He had the Eagles 16-1 before the season started on a future to win the Super Bowl. Matt, did you get it creative and do anything before the game with your future ticket?
Nothing before the game. I didn't want to, when you talk about a 1-point favorite, there's not much you can do there. I actually also played the Eagles and the over on a teaser, but I took a mental shot during the game on the Chiefs live, a plus 3.5, about 10% of my bet, and I regretted that not too long later because it was pretty obvious, I thought, by late first quarter or early second quarter that the Eagles were going to win that game and probably win the game going away. So, I did take one small mental shot, but that's it. And it's nice to cash Super Bowl future ticket. It's probably the best NFL futures year I've ever had in terms of win totals, division winners, Super Bowl, stuff like that. The regular season, week by week picks against the spread were not good this year, right around 50%. I was very disappointed, but the futures were great.
Well, a lot of people had some bad seasons with the picks. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of pros got beat up as well with what happened in the regular season. Congrats on that ticket. Tell people about the college basketball contest.
Oh, you don't want to miss this. The Circa College Hoops Challenge. JVT and I will be unveiling this entire thing on the Friday night show. It's going to be the third year of the contest. We're going to have 10 rounds beginning this Saturday and a total of 50 plays in this contest. We got 15 handicappers.
Yes.
Some of the sharpest college basketball minds out there. And Derek Stevens, Mike Palm, going to put a couple prizes up for grabs from Circa. We've got Dom DeMarco's gift certificate, too. And like I said, it's not a $25,000 contest like the football deal. But if you want to get into college hoops handicapping, you don't want to miss this because the Circa College Hoops Challenge picks will be out on the VSiN Pro email late every Friday night. Saturday morning, we'll announce some of the picks on the Friday night show or the Saturday morning show. And some of the guys in it, Will Hill, the 2023 champ, David Deneen, last year's champ. We got Ron Boyles, longtime Las Vegas pro. How about Bobby Buckets Brubeck out of Austin, Texas, Chris Massero, Aaron Moore, Tim Murray, Greg Hoops Peterson, JVT, myself, Wes Reynolds, and a lot more. So we got 15 handicappers. Well, each have 5 plays on the Saturday card for each of the next 4 Saturdays, and then we're going to ramp it up for the NCAA tournament in March.
That's great. I love the Friday night show. I'm looking forward to that. What would you do right now, available down the street, SEC against the field? It's now pick 'em.
Yeah, Chris Andrews opened this prop at the South Point, and I grabbed the sheet, and the price on the sheet no longer exists because Chris opened the field minus 160 on January 27th. And we're sitting here about 2 weeks later, and it's close to a pick-em price. But with the SEC, I've already got a couple futures on teams in the SEC, including Alabama at 20-1. Let's see, you get Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri. Let's see who else would be a factor in there. Tennessee, Texas A&M. And those are the teams with a legitimate shot. Outside the SEC, you're going to look at maybe teams like Duke, Michigan State, Purdue, a few in the Big 12. This is not much outside the Big 12 or outside the SEC to get excited about. I think Pick'em is probably the right price. I would not have made the field a favorite. Okay. And at that point, I think the SEC at plus 140 was probably a pretty good bet. I think Pick'em's probably the price. And if you force me to take SEC or the field of Pick'em, I think I would take SEC, Paul.
Yep. I'm with you. Lenardi has 13 teams in right now, latest bracketology. He has Tennessee, Auburn, Bama as 1 seeds. Florida's a 2. A&M's a 2. Kentucky's a 4. Ole Miss is a 5. And Miss State's a 7 with those seeds. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. What did you play tonight on the hoops card?
You know what's funny, too? When you get to the SEC tournament, you're going to have a team seeded like 7th or 8th that's going to be a 3 or 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Something like that. Well, on tonight's card, it's a little bit complex because overnight I did bet St. John's at minus 140. I think it was 140 on the money line. I felt like that was a pretty square play. And I did come back with Villanova plus 3. So I'm just kind of shooting for a middle on that game because I had some regrets about the St. John's bet. That game actually tipped early. I think it just tipped a little while ago. So it's a little too late to get in on that game. But St. John's been a great story, and that's another team I have a future on at 80-1. St. John's 21-3, 12-1 in the Big East. And actually, if you look at the losses for the Johnnies, by 1 at Creighton, by 1 in double overtime to Baylor, and by 3 points to Georgia. 3 losses by a total of 6 points. That's what St. John's has got this season. We're going on the road to Villanova against a desperate team tonight, and it looks like Villanova might have an early lead. I see according to the score update there. A couple of ugly dogs I like in the card tonight. How about South Carolina? This team's still searching for a win in the SEC. There was 5 out there. It looks like the 5 and the 5.5 have disappeared. That game comes up at 4 o'clock. South Carolina 4.5-point dog now to Ole Miss. I think that's an ugly dog. You could probably find reasons to bet. And late tonight in the Mountain West, JVT and I talked about this on the show last night.
God bless you.
Wyoming was a 17.5-point favorite when you and I were talking about this game on the show last night. And I thought, man, this number might tick up to 18.5. It went the other way. Sharp money in the market on the Wyoming Cowboys, who've lost 3 in a row. But they lost by 2 at San Diego State, 4-point game to Utah State. Really good coach in Sundance Wicks. The leading scorer, Obi Agbam, is back. He averages 17-6 a game, shoots 44% for 3. Again, when these teams met on January 7th, it was one of the worst beats of the season if you had Wyoming, plus 7.5, led by 14 at halftime and ended up losing by 8 with some late-game hijinks.
Okay.
New Mexico 20-4 right now, 12-1. The Mountain West, really a dangerous team. Donovan Dent, one of the best guards in college basketball. One loss, actually, the one blowout loss for New Mexico was actually at St. John's in November. Patino against Patino in that one. But no, I think the 2 ugly dogs you can look at in the card tonight would be South Carolina and Wyoming.
All right, excellent. Follow the money, Paulie and JVT. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Matt Youmans, our guest, follows us every night. Off tonight, he's on the Progressive guest line. How about any golf that you played at the Genesis?
Is JVT allowed to talk in this segment, or you got?
Paul's got it. Paul's got it. I'm also watching this basketball game, so I don't really mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I thought maybe he's handicapping some NBA games to start. You know what? I know you had Indy Jeff Seeley on. He's a great golf handicapper. Wes Reynolds, Matt Grill, Brady Cannon. There's a lot of guys out there who do a great job golf handicapping, and I think a lot of guys this week are in Colin Morikawa. He's been a money pit, and for a lot of golf bettors. But he's got 2 top 5s at Torrey Pines. Don't forget this Genesis Invitational was moved from Riviera Country Club to Torrey Pines because of the fires around Pacific Palisades in that neighborhood. So we're going to play at Torrey for the second time in 4 weeks. Morikawa has 2 top 5s here. I bet him top 10 at plus 130 and to win at 16-1. Take a shot. I'll tell you the player who I think, and Matt Grill of DraftKings said this on her show last night, and I agree. He said Rory should probably be the favorite or the co-favorite. It's going to rain on Thursday and Friday in San Diego. That Torrey Pines course is going to be soft and wet. You need somebody who's long off the tee. So you got to look for bombers here because it's a long course, even when it's not wet. And Rory has been a monster off the tee, and Rory's been putting it well. You got to look for guys who putt well on the Poana greens. Rory plus 170 top 5 and to win. Circa having it at about 8-1 last night. So actually played them both. Top 20 bets in the golf tournament. Played some guys who were long off the tee as well. How about Wyndham Clark plus 240, Cameron Young plus 210, Minwoo Lee plus 180, and then a former San Diego State player, J.J. Spahn at plus 230. J.J. was playing really well in the tournament in Honolulu a couple weeks ago, and he's been competitive. So that's what I got on the golf card. And Paul, don't forget the Circuit College Hoops Challenge, Friday night. JVT and I tip it off with 15 handicappers.
Great plug. Good job. Congrats on the future. Talk to you soon. Go get them.
Thanks, brother. You bet.
It's good to talk to you, Matt.
Yep. Looking forward to that Fridays. That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Friday night show, too. I mean,
the Circuit Friday Football Invitational. Every single Friday if you're in football season. Absolutely great.
Nova's up 10. What do you see?
This is why I brought up the shooting, right? Because if St. John's, one of the worst shooting teams in the country, is going to get hot and still trail, then that's going to be a problem. And we mentioned this too. Now, I brought this up in the UConn game because remember they trailed early against UConn, and then they came storming back because their defense is good enough. But Villanova's shooting the ball pretty well, Paul. And if you can't shoot, it's hard to get out of deficits if you're a team like St. John's. So I know that there might be a thought of potentially coming in on St. John's, but I think you make the case here to potentially either further back Nova if you don't have anything else, because I don't know if you're going to be able to shoot your way out of this outside of maybe shutting Villanova down. And if that's the case, maybe an in-game under.
Which is 148.5 now. Yeah, Nova 5.5 for the game. And Rutgers and Iowa underway, 10-7. Rutgers, they're 6.5 in play, 158.5, 5 minutes in. Yeah. What's underway? In pocket, what we're betting coming up next. And the NBA prop analyzer, always up there at vsin.com. We'll share who's hot, who's not, and what to bet with those props as well coming up. VSiN, Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, Channel 158, Paulie and JVT.
To determine the winner of any given college basketball game.
Someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything. You take it. Take it. Take it.
I'll bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day. No way. I'll give you 3-1 odds. Nope. 5-1. Nope. 10-1. You're on.
Fade Brigade, fade the Bulls, fade the Suns until further notice. Winner last night with the Grizzlies, went into Phoenix. Misleading score. They covered. Anytime they wanted a bucket, they got it. Good Memphis team, and they got it done and going right back against the Suns tonight. It was 6.5, now it's up to 9. Booker's out as they take on the Rockets. 2 props, Brunson over points tonight, 27.5. Luka under points, 24.5. Stayed well under that. Number one, Atlanta has no one who can guard Brunson. Yeah. And Brunson should go off, and he didn't have a lot of minutes last night in the easy win against the Pacers. And Luka, which he was on the minutes restriction Monday. How many shots is he going to take?
Maybe he tries to get him up in a short amount of time, but I don't think that'd be the case.
24.5? That's a big ask.
1 of 7 from three-point range in that game?
I think it's aggressive. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's aggressive with his points and assists, too. Rebounds and assists at 6.5 as well. The guy I want on the Lakers would be LeBron, who's been on a mission, what he's doing, and also Reeves. Reeves is 4.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists. The run he's been on. LeBron plus 650 to get a triple-double tonight as the Lakers up to 9, taking on the Jazz. They should get whatever they want offensively. So 2 props tonight and 1 side in the association. Go get them.
All right. Celtics -8 versus the Spurs. Not a really big adjustment here. We saw this was at 8.5 pretty much most of the day. News that Jaylen Brown's not going to play. Just down to 8. I think the market kind of expected that. Look, I'll go back to this. Even without Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown on the floor here, to tell me that the difference between these two is still floating around 5.5 points, I think is a little ridiculous. I think the Celtics are head and shoulders better than the Spurs team. They're 1-3 ATS since Fox has come over. With him on the floor with Wembanyama, they're getting outscored by 9.8 points every 100 possessions. Their defense is awful. I'll take my chances here. So Celtics -8.
Sports betting never slows down. We'll have a Daytona guest on tomorrow. MLB season right around the corner. We'll cover that with the futures and March Madness. Start betting smarter with a VSiN Pro subscription. As little as $9.99, you get a daily email from Bill 80, all the plays, every host, every guest, the deep dive stats, the insights help you make the smartest picks. Full access today, $9.99, VSiN.com/subscribe. Worth it just for the prop analyzer. VSiN.com/subscribe. Speaking of which, up today, Powell, 30-13 run over with the points. Mm-hmm. He should be the favorite for most improved.
It's pretty. So it depends on how you view improvement.
Yep.
Is he actually better, or is he just getting a larger role? Because I'm somebody that's got a lot of burned Norm Powell 6 Man of the Year tickets because I think he's always been this guy. He's been great. He's always been fantastic. He's closed out game for the Clippers since he's been there.
Good points. I don't think
one of the best players.
I don't think Cunningham fits the criteria.
Yeah, well, that's the other part. It's just how do these? You're always handicapping voters for these awards. So that's always the question: is how will they view Powell? Will they view him as actually improved, or they view him as somebody who's just getting a larger workload? And if they view him as the latter, which is the larger workload, you could make the argument that Cunningham's maybe should be a bigger favorite to win this award, given how the award's been voted on in the past. But it's an award market I hate the most because you have stupid arbitrary rules. The voters have this stupid rule where second-year guys can't win the award because they're assumed to be improved, which is, I think, moronic because there is a massive leap you can make as a player. So I don't really understand the criteria. It seems to almost change every single year. And we the last few years, we've gotten this push of like, well, now he's becoming a superstar, whatever that weird thing is.
Yeah.
So now we give it to guys like John Morant and whatnot, and I just don't really buy it. So
I don't either.
I'd look deeper for most improved.
And a couple voters who don't are on the Brian Windhorst podcast saying it's outrageous, I'm quoting, that Cunningham is the favorite.
Oh, really? I missed that.
That's what they said.
So who would their guy be?
Powell.
Really?
At the time, probably Mobley had a case too.
Sure.
Yeah. Brown, Denver, 34-17 run over. His points, KCP, 34-18 under run. Yep. Assists, Murphy, 23-9 over run. And rebounds, Brunson and Bridges, 34-18, 34-19 under runs. Kessler, 27-12 over run. Cunningham, 31-18 over run. Check it out always, the prop analyzer, VSiN.com. This game died. 32-29. Yeah. Here comes St. John's, a minute 40 until halftime. And they've held Villanova in check here.
Well, like I mentioned, right? If you're going to get back into this, you're not going to shoot your way into it. You're going to shut down Villanova, and the game might go under. And that's the case. Although St. John's is chucking, man. I don't know why they were taking so many three-point shots.
So approaching halftime, Nova with the ball up 3 in the first half. In that one, we get to get ready for the second half number with that game. As I mentioned earlier, let me give you the end play while we're at it. Villanova, $1.70 on a money line, 143.5 the total. Biggest and best NBA card of the season as we get the All-Star game coming up and then the skills competition. Only a couple games tomorrow. We talked about that Celtic game. I don't love the spot, but you're on Boston. Do the Pacers take out the Wizards, and is it a high-scoring affair? 242.5, and Pacers laying double against the Wizards, probably in a bad mood after what happened at home against the Knicks.
Yep. I mean, probably in a bad mood. Situationally, I guess not the best. I don't really worry too much about it. Second leg of a back-to-back. But Wizards are playing pretty well. They've covered 5 out of the last 6. They've won 3. They're 3-3 straight up, which for them is absolutely insane.
That is.
Pacers been a little overvalued. 1 of 5 ATS last 6. Sarr, it looks like, he's going to play today. So that's a pretty big deal. get a little bit more defense and rim protection, which is really going to help you out there if he's going to be out there for you. Look, Wizards have been playing pretty well. I'd lean a little bit toward Washington. Asking them to cover some of these numbers has not been the sweat that you've expected. Staying inside of these numbers, showing a little bit more pop. They're young, so they'll match pace with Indiana. I think they won't really mind going up and down the floor. And with Sarr out there, if he's going to be available, that's going to be a pretty big deal.
I'm tied on. I don't know what to do on this Knicks game because Atlanta beat them already at the Garden, and Trae Young gets up for it.
Yep.
But it's just this shouldn't happen. Atlanta's supposed to be bad.
I know.
That doesn't make any sense. And then they were hot and beating Boston, had a great resume and won back-to-back against Cleveland.
Yep.
And then they couldn't beat Toronto, and they had some bad losses in that losing streak. But you recommended 6-1 earlier in the show to win the division. This thing's wide open. They're a game and a half out.
They're a half game behind Miami when you're talking about the divisional standings. They're a half game ahead of Orlando. They're all just a jumbled mess.
Yeah.
I think like at 6-1 to tell us that these two teams, Miami and Orlando, are head and shoulders above them from a rating standpoint, from the potential of winning this division. I just don't really buy it. Odds-wise, I think that's a great buy at 6-1 to win the Southeast. By the way, Sarr is starting, so 3 rookies in the starting lineup tonight for the Washington Wizards.
Magic laying a bunch against the Hornets. Totals dropped 6 points. Magic have been awful lately during this free fall. Did have the nice win in Sacramento. Cavs. That totals up to 237 against Toronto, 13-point favorites against the Raptors. I will call my shot here, which it's hard because you have the break and guys have their bags packed already. Sure. I do think we see a lot of high-scoring games tonight in overs.
Market thinks so.
Yeah.
What do we look like? Luke and I were talking about this before the show. I think there's 8 games in the total of like over 233, 234 or higher.
Many?
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of high-scoring games.
Pistons, Bulls, 237. Pistons 6.5. Played last night, routed them 71-29 at halftime. Our guest earlier, Jeff Sherman, says the Bulls will bounce back, at least show up with some pride. +3 in the first half.
Over under 42, largest lead for Detroit tonight.
No Maxey. Sixers small favorite against the Nets, 2-11. Nets playing well. Can't get there with the Sixers. What a debacle. What a debacle this is.
Yeah, finally going to flip us a favorite. Maxey out, no Embiid. Yep.
Oh, okay. Did it? All right, 1.5. Yep, thank you. I think they were going to punt on the season if the Bulls didn't cooperate.
Well, that's the thing, right?
That
to your
changed
point,
everything.
Because you got that pick that's floating out there, so you got to do one of two things. You either got to make the push for the championship, or you just got to bottom out so hard that you can use the pick. But the Bulls are probably going to hand it off to them. Unless I think somebody tweeted us and asked us the question. This is the ultimate long shot. And I would say, effort-wise, you're going to get it. Colin Murphy asked, what do you think about the Raptors to participate in the play-in at 17-1? 3.5 games back of Philly, 5 back of the Bulls. Bulls obviously are going to want to lose. And the Raptors are going to try to win. We got an update today from Brandon Ingram. We don't have a clear timeline on when he comes back. We assume he's going to come back.
Yeah.
Still have Scotty Barnes. I think they want to try to get in.
That's interesting.
And you got 2 teams in front of them. You got 2 teams in front of them that just keep going, here, take it.
That's right.
Don't want any part of it.
Yeah. What do you think of Portland to participate?
They're a lot better. Doug Kazarian, he tried to get after me the other day. I misquoted him. I said he thought they were sneaky good. He said, no. I thought they were sneaky okay. They're sneaky good. I think he was right. He should have let me give him that credit.
Yeah.
There's clearly a gap, and we got the news today. Ayton's going to be out at least 4 weeks with a calf injury, so that's something to monitor here. But, I mean, that's a little bit of a loss. He's played 40 games, or he started 40 games. He's averaging 14 and 10. But they've been great, man. And Scoot Henderson is really starting to, at least this year, was really starting to find his groove a little bit before he got injured. So I wouldn't say no to it, but I think it's too hard of a hill to climb in the West. East, a lot of upward mobility.
You're right. Lakers up to 9.5 now in this game at Utah. And you're right. Look at the Laker game's 235, the Portland game's 234, the Golden State game 233, and the Clipper game is 235 with the last games on the NBA card. Enjoy it. It's a fun day. And a fun night in the association. Great job, JVT. Back tomorrow, VSiN Prime Time. Tim Murray up next, cashing out. Joe Serralo, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. And by the book, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. as well. Good luck out there. Let's cash some tickets, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on VSiN. Follow the money. Sirius XM Channel 158. Thanks to the crew.